Welcome back to another edition of the Unknown Sports Podcast. My name is AJ Musser. Joined with me, as usual, is Hunter, Harris, and Austin Fyffe. What's up, fellas? Hunter, how you feeling, dude?
I don't want to be here today.
Because you're going to go play basketball?
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, he really just wants to go ball right now.
I'm feeling really supportive today, and I want you to know that up front, Hunter, that I'm here for you. And I'm going to be on your side today.
No, you're not. Not for
Hunter,
2 seconds. You're not.
Today's podcast is going to be of a bit of a climb, maybe an upslope, if you will.
Oh, dude!
Look at you, Mr. Professional.
Yeah, I'm pretty good, I guess. You can take introducing the beer from there, Hunter.
Upslope Brewing Company, Boulder, Colorado. There's a couple breweries out in Boulder that are a little bit more popular than this one, but
it is a nice Boulder.
It is a nice Boulder. And I shook that up a little bit before I opened it. My bad. But it is a lager, and I love lagers, so we'll see how this is.
Cheers, buddy. Yeah, Carly's been watching all the old time hockey videos that guy posts on TikTok. If you have ever had a TikTok, you've probably seen his stuff. He's the really weird kid in Canada with a mustache and lives in a cabin in the woods. Seems like a nice guy, though.
I wouldn't go with weird. I'd go with peaceful.
I don't think I've ever heard of the guy you guys are talking about. Like, I'm totally lost right now.
What?
Oh,
He's the guy that's like, why, hello, buddy. And then he'll go into his whole, this is how we make whatever it is, omelets or whatever, and then we'll get a nice cold pop.
Yep. I'll send you.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's honestly, there's a lot of things on TikTok that are out of control. This is the good side of TikTok. This is why you get on there for what you get on there for. So, yeah.
All right.
All right.
Before,
do we have to talk football?
We do, but before that, we could just be like,
what the heck is that?
For those of you listening on audio, Austin just stood up and showed off his shirt that he's wearing, and it says, "Now Hunter with the news."
Oh my god! All right,
so Hunter,
we have merch now.
Yeah, we do. We have one
so
piece
excited.
of merch.
I'm so excited too. That's sick.
Oh man, I was my Chloe made this for me, so I had the idea, and she was like, "Yeah, I can for sure do that." We've got a little one of those like quick cut things where you can make shirts and stuff, and I was like, "This is perfect. This is $10 well spent."
When I texted you guys, what was that, like 3 weeks ago now? And I was like, if we made T-shirts for our podcast, what catchphrases and stuff do we say a lot that we would put on there? That's what we came up with?
The suggestion I gave was the lengthy one of, if I had to pick this beer out in a fridge full of beers, it would depend on what else was in the beer. That was my phrase that I went with. That's a bit long for a T-shirt, though. Maybe a sweater, an oversized sweater.
Right. So I thought it was great. It made me laugh. And
that's great. That's fantastic.
So, yeah, Hunter with the news.
But really,
here, dude. But really, like, give us the news.
Oh.
Well,
today's like a layup of news things.
I know.
And we softball this one to you. In fact, Austin put it on a literal tee for you.
T-shirt.
I mean, Dan Quinn's doing a lot of interviews. I don't know.
Jesus, man.
Sean Payton got retired.
That's right. Don't put me on the spot. I knew that happened, but it doesn't come to mind when you put me on the spot.
We put it on the spot because everyone enjoys you looking like a dummy.
Well, it happens a lot on this. I was about to swear. It happens a lot on this show.
But Hunter, we'll do the Packers game later, but before we even talk the game, I just want to hear about your experience of the stadium and stuff. That being your first time getting to be there in the snow and stuff. But we'll talk about that later.
You want to hear about that now or later? Is that what you're saying?
No, we'll talk about that right before. That'll be our
Okay.
intro into the Packers game when we talk that game.
Okay.
Yeah.
But first, let's talk Sean Payton stuff. Austin, I'll let you lead that off since Hunter struggled hard.
Yeah, I mean that's the big one. Not expected to coach in 22, but I do think he'll coach again. I saw, and I forget who said it on Twitter because it was fantastic, and I should have wrote it down. But someone said this was the ultimate dine and dash of running up the bill and taking off right when you have to pay the repercussions for it. Yeah, they're in. Oh, they have been for years. They've been in kind of a cap hell. So I think Peyton's just burnt out. Knows he doesn't have a quarterback right now, and knows that it's really, really, really difficult to win in this league without a quarterback. And so he can take kind of a refresher, maybe jump back in next year or the year after when a spot opens up for him where he likes the situation and take over from there.
Which is where, Austin?
Yeah, if you had to give your predictions,
maybe next
where's
year
it
in
going to
Dallas if McCarthy gets fired.
Yeah, he'll be the Dallas head coach next year.
be? That's what I think too.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yep. I think he'll have this little sabbatical where he'll do maybe some media stuff next season. But then I think, he'll ultimately end up in Dallas. Sorry, Austin, he won't be the Bears coach.
No, he's not going to be the Bears coach.
No. Well, he needs to take a full year off anyways to get out of that contract. So.
No, he's under contract for 3 years.
No. But how it works is, this is at least how it was explained to me on a podcast I was listening to earlier. If he takes the year off, he's now out of that contract because he's no longer. So. At least that's what I heard. I don't know if that's true.
I don't think so. I think no matter what, that when he goes back, he's still technically under contract.
I mean, I may be wrong.
So they would have to trade him, or they would just have to forgive him and let him leave.
Yeah, the Saints could release him from his contract, but they won't because you'll get at least a first round pick for him. So they're not going to do that. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's got 3 years left on his contract, and it basically just pauses. It's kind of like the whole Calvin Johnson thing when he retired and had to come back, but people, he still was under contract with Detroit, and that's why he wouldn't. Even though other teams wanted him and they didn't know what he had left, so you're not going to give up that type of asset. So,
I like though how all this happens and no one's really talking about, okay, who's the Saints' next head coach?
It's Dennis Allen. He's getting
Yeah, he'll get promoted. What Austin said. That's why I don't think there's much talk on it.
Yeah, I that's from everything I've read.
Is that the right move?
I mean, I think he's earned that, right? Or earned their shot.
I'd agree. I mean, he's been Sean Payton's right-hand man for how many years now?
It's been a long time, and I know he was a head coach before, and we'll talk about this here more as this season wraps up and we get into head coaching changes after the playoffs end. But he had a rough stint, but it was in Oakland when that place was a mess. I mean, that everything that walked into there was a dumpster fire. Well, it's better now than what it was.
That's true.
It's not great now, but
thanks to Gruden, though, wouldn't have gotten there if it wasn't for Gruden.
Yeah. It's definitely him making things better there. I mean, I think he learned from that experience. Sean Payton has been a great mentor to him, and I think Dennis Allen will kind of just flip the coin. Sean Payton wants no part of defense, and I don't think Dennis Allen wants any part of offense. So I think he's just going to flip around who the head coach pays more attention to and go hire himself an offensive guy and make him a really, really high-paid offensive coordinator to run it so he doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah. The other news I wanted to talk about was this Tom Brady stuff. There's a lot of conversation right now on whether he'll be back or not. And pretty much I'm going to let you guys go for 60 to 90 seconds each on what your opinion is on whether he'll be back or not. Hunter, I'll let you lead this one off because you had nothing to talk about there.
He'll be back. I have no doubt that he'll be back. The only reason people are saying that he might be back is because of the way, or he might not come back, is because of the way he reacted on some of those plays Sunday. That's literally the main reason. No? What?
Did you not hear any of the interviews he was doing?
Yeah. He's done a lot. He's done a couple interviews.
But he's
on
never,
his
not in
podcast.
any of these. Obviously, he said, I got to spend more time with the family, all that stuff. I didn't see anything in there that was like, okay, he's seriously thinking about retirement.
It's definitely more than just I need to
Yes.
spend time with the family. It's they deserve it.
Yeah,
They
my
deserve
wife
me to be.
deserves to have a husband who's attentive to her. My
Yeah.
kids deserve to have a father around their day-to-day lives.
Is he not already?
No.
No,
No, he's
spending
not.
200 plus days a year in a football facility.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, anyways, I have different opinions on that stuff. Anyways, I feel like their job is less demanding as a father and all that stuff. Anyways. But I will say, though, I do think he's coming back for another year because he would have said this earlier in the year and been talking like this earlier in the year, I think, if he was actually.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think
because
Tom
he
Brady's
said that
ever-
he doesn't want a farewell
type of
tour.
guy.
So this is the kind of way I think he would go out as just, you know what? Because this Bucks team isn't going to be good next year either. Because they're going to have to kind of put things together, and I don't know if he really wants to
No, they
stick
could run it
around
back.
for. I mean, we'll see. But do you want to run it back with the same team? That defensive line's aging a little bit. Secondary got really beat up this year. Maybe they'll come back next year healthy. I don't know. I don't see him coming back. Sure, they can make the money work. They always find ways to make money work.
Yeah,
But-
I think they could definitely kick the can down the road, at least one more year, and sign some guys. You find some more guys like Ndamukong Suh, where he's not great anymore, but he can contribute and will contribute cheap for an opportunity to win a ring. But this is at least by far the most real this has been. In the past, we hear stuff and it's things that Giselle has leaked or didn't leak or whoever leaked it for her, but about his health, and I'm worried about that. This is a lot more personable to me, these excuses, if you will, why he would walk away. It seems a lot more legit. I don't know that he will, but it definitely feels like, and he said forever that he wanted to play till he's 45, and I'm pretty sure he turns 45 in the offseason. So this could be it.
Yeah, I think it's probably it for him. I think winning a Super Bowl and then coming back the next year and losing on a game-winning drive, but also being number 2 in the MVP conversation. Or I said to Carly earlier, I said, I think if he announced his retirement today or tomorrow, that would persuade voters to vote for him for MVP. And
They
have
already
him win.
voted.
Did they?
End of the regular season.
No. Well,
Yeah.
Playoffs don't count for MVP
no, I
stuff.
know it doesn't count for it. I just didn't know when the voting took
Yeah,
place.
they have to submit them before the playoffs.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, how funny would it be though if Brady kind of cucks Ben Roethlisberger's retirement and then they have to go into Canton together and just nobody cares about Roethlisberger's induction?
Would love that.
Steelers fans would care about it.
Well, of course,
And
but,
that's all Big Ben cares about. Let's be honest.
his entire career he's acted like he cares about everyone's opinion.
Yeah.
I think he's Mr. Look at me, in my opinion. Look at me.
I don't see
Physically,
Walking.
Brady has everything to keep playing, though. Is the thing. Like he was
Yeah,
playing
he
at
does,
such a high level
but-
this year.
He was.
I don't think it's a physical thing.
Right.
I don't. I think he's fine. He proved that he can still play. And I'm not saying he can't play. I know I said that probably last year during the year or whatever, but or his last year with the Patriots.
Yeah.
But I think it's off-field reasons as to why he would retire at this point.
And I think Brady's doesn't want to. I think part of it too, with him and Peyton being close, I don't think he wants to kind of go out like Peyton did, where there was the last year and a half where he wasn't Peyton Manning anymore. And
Yeah.
I don't think Brady wants that. I think Brady wants to walk away while he's maybe not at the height of his powers, but is still somewhere 80-90%.
Which is why I think if he retired now is probably where he would be most satisfied with leaving his career. Is I won a Super Bowl last year and I'm either MVP or MVP runner-up
Right.
in my very last year at whatever age he is. I think that would be a W in his book.
One small footnote more that's been kind of hinting at it that I don't think a ton of people have talked about, that TV series or documentary series, whatever you want to call about it, that he's been shooting all year. The last episode didn't come out as scheduled. It was supposed to come out I think it was Wild Card Weekend, and it didn't. and they haven't re-released a date. And a lot of people were speculating that maybe he was going to end that documentary series with his retirement speech. And if you postpone it indefinitely, that kind of lets him play out as far as he could get in the playoffs and release it from there.
Yeah, that makes sense too. I didn't know about that. That's kind of interesting.
Well, I didn't take much of that seriously until you guys started diving in that a little bit more. So definitely now I'm going to be watching out for Brady's retirement.
That might be the first time one of us was persuaded on the podcast.
Well, I just hadn't paid much attention to it because I'm just assuming like I would have heard more about this if he was actually going to be done.
So yeah, I hadn't heard much about it either. And then I listened to the ATN podcast and they were talking about it, and they talked about it for about as long as we have. And I was like, oh wow, like I didn't realize that it was that big of a thing. And then they played his quotes and stuff and heard it come from his voice, not reading it. And it sounds like he's kind of upset, like, because he even said it's not completely my decision. Like, it's his family's decision at this point. Sounds like there's been a lot of give and take over the years, and now it's kind of up to the wife and kids as to whether or not he gets to keep going.
Yeah, and I mean, there's all of the grueling wear and tear of your body for a normal football player, the 20 to 25, 28, 29-year-old. I can only imagine how much time he has to spend away from his family on recovery, on physical therapy, on all of these other stuff at 45 to continue to play at the level he's playing at. So it's even more of a process than it is for most players.
I agree with that. All right. We talked news stuff. That was a good news segment. Probably the best we had. Kudos to Austin's t-shirt. Let's get into the games. Starting with, let's start Bengals Titans. Hunter, lead this one off for me since you were on the road and you probably have the least amount to add to it. So I'll let you kick us off.
I have a lot to add to this, actually.
Oh, then go for it, dude. All you.
Unlike most fan bases, the Packers fan base cares about not just Packer football. They care about football. So we were all huddled around as a Packers unit around some TVs over there before the game. So I got to see a lot of this game. I mean, it kind of went exactly how I thought it would as far as just low-scoring game. Henry wasn't going to be 100% back, but they're going to feed the crap out of him. Tannehill, though, played awful. Terrible. And Vrabel did a terrible job coaching, I think, as well. That's what it came down to for me. Burrow, I mean, dude's a warrior, getting hit 9 times and still going out there and getting the game-winning drive done. But to me, that this game is about a couple of coaching decisions that Mike Vrabel made and how bad Ryan Tannehill played. Ryan Tannehill was awful, and I think he needs to be gone. They need to make a change at quarterback because that team is too good and too well coached to be wasted every year because Ryan Tannehill's the quarterback on that team.
Who are you going to replace Tannehill with right now?
Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers isn't going to go to Tennessee.
I know.
No, but dear Lord, but I love Tannehill in Green Bay. Please.
Okay, anyways. That was a game where the main standouts in that game, A.J. Brown. Austin, I know you're not a huge fan of A.J. Brown. You think he's overrated. I love A.J. Brown.
He is okay. So, quick point before I let you keep going. The AJ Brown thing, I think I get over-labeled as an AJ Brown hater. You just think
he's overrated.
Yeah, there's a small sector of the NFL world that believes he's like a borderline top 5 wide receiver, and that's insane.
He's not. Yeah,
he's not. So
no.
I don't dislike him. I just think he gets put into an echelon of receivers that he's not with. And so that's what makes I'm more of like a pump the brakes, not I can't stand AJ Brown.
So pump the brakes on your hate with us on the podcast because Hunter and I don't view him as a top 5 receiver.
No, it's okay. I still have to be the Titans hater on this podcast.
That's okay. You can have that label. Hunter, keep going. We apologize.
You're fine. You're fine. Vrabel made 2 horrifically bad coaching decisions. First off, they scored a touchdown, tied the game up 6 apiece early in that game. He decides to, they get a penalty, moves it half the distance to the goal. I get the numbers on all of that for 2-point conversions, all that stuff. It's the playoffs. When you have the opportunity to take points, you take them in the playoffs because They're not a lot of opportunities, especially when a game is as tight as that was.
That's true. Like when you're down 8 with like 4 minutes left in the NFC Championship game, you got to take those points, right?
I thought you were going to be nice to him today, Austin.
Well, not when he says wrong things.
Oh, okay.
Well,
that's a different situation.
That's
totally different situation.
It's the playoffs. Take the points. That's
the listeners don't listen to Austin. You know what I'm saying here. It's a tie football game. You go up in that game 100% of the time, right? Am I crazy here?
Not 100%. Vrabel didn't.
Ridiculous coaching decision to me, and it comes back to bite him in the end. At the end of the game as well, they're about the 33, I believe it was. They went for a on third down. It was 3rd and 2. There's about, I'd say, 6 minutes left in the game at this point. They do a quarterback option with Ryan Tannehill, in which he fakes it to Derrick Henry and then gets tackled 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. First off, awful play call. What the heck are you thinking there? Second,
I don't hate that.
You don't? I hate that, dude.
Tannehill's a pretty good athlete. I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with the play call. I have a problem with the play call in that scenario.
Okay, I agree with that as well.
If you're going to, and this is probably where you're going, I probably cut you off a little early on accident.
Go ahead.
If you're going to go for it in that situation, you know you're going for it on 4th down. If that's your play call, run Derrick Henry.
Yes.
And I that's probably where you're going, so I'll let you continue.
100%. If you're going for it on 4th down, like they said they were, not Romo. Is it Romo doing this game? Who was the one that was doing this game?
Whoever
it was Trent Green.
Trent Green. Trent Green says if you're going for it on 4th down and you run the ball on 3rd down, it's just an indicator to everybody that you are going to go for it. Right. Which then they turn around, they hand it to Henry on 4th down, and Henry just doesn't have it the way he should have to run through a guy to get to that one. But also, still a bad play call as well.
When are we? I'm confused at where the Titans are at analytically.
I am too.
Because sometimes they're like very analytical based and a super progressive, forward thinking, new age type football. However, everybody in the world has the analytical data on Derrick Henry. He's not a good short yard back.
No,
he's not. He hasn't been at any point of his career. Yet the Titans,
people act like he's this bruising. They act like he's Marshawn Lynch, but he's not.
No,
he's not at all.
Derrick Henry is fast and he's strong and he's fairly agile. But his worst characteristic of him as a running back is his acceleration. He doesn't get to top speed fast, and that's what you need. You need that short burst when you're trying to get up to the line.
So they go up on 4th down, and then they do that. They should have just kicked a field goal the whole time. You're in a tie. Were they in a tie football game at that point?
That's a tough field goal.
It is a tough field goal. It's the playoffs, though. And I'll get into my whole thing about Green Bay later. No, you take the points when you're tied in the playoffs.
Take the points. It's a simple 54-yard field goal with 6-degree weather and it's windy outside.
I get it. I get all of that, what you're saying, Austin. But we're playing professional football here. The kicker needs to go out there and kick that field goal. That's 4 points off the board real quick. Real quick. They lost that game by 3 points. So go ahead. I know you guys got a lot of
Joe
opinions.
Burrow. Yeah. Joe Burrow, to me, after that performance and what he's done in the playoffs so far, has made himself going to be one of the dudes going forward in the NFL. I mean, like top 5 quarterback echelon is where he just shot himself up to. He is now a top 10 quarterback. Whether he's crashing the top 5 is very, very debatable at this point, in my opinion, as number 5 or number 4, not number 3, 2, 1. We know who those people are. But he has just jumped on a rocket to the moon up there because that Bengals team is only going that far because of Joe Burrow. I don't think they'll beat the Chiefs next week, and we'll get into that more here in a little bit. But, like, Joe Burrow's just a dude. He's a dog. Gotta have more dogs.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I mean, I could give you a recap, but if you wanted to just go back to the last episode and listen to what I said was going to happen, it would be kind of the same conversation. Man, I wish all of the podcast listeners could audibly hear the eye roll Hunter just gave me. Um, no, I did a very good job this weekend, as a super humble man once said. It came down to Ryan Tannehill versus Joe Burrow, and Ryan Tannehill screwed up, made the mistake, threw the interception, and Burrow capitalized on it. End of discussion.
Hunter, are you watching the turtle trying to make it his escape right now?
I am seeing that.
I've been staring at it the whole time he's been talking.
Dude's
Keep
doing
going,
Mission
Austin.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came down to what I've been harping on for the entire year, is that the Titans weren't as good as their record said, and they just weren't. They aren't one of the best 4 teams in the AFC, and they aren't one of the 4 left. Or they don't belong in that spot. They won games against teams they shouldn't have, but ultimately you are what your record says you are. But they weren't good enough to win in the playoffs, and that's what it comes down to. Hunter, you're right. Ryan Tannehill's not that guy, but they're stuck with him. The contract they gave him, they're stuck with him. They can't get out of it.
I get it.
Yeah, he's owed a lot of money next year.
But he's there for 2 more years minimum. I think it's technically 3 before they have any sort of decent out in that contract. And they just paid Henry a lot of money, and they're going to have to pay A.J. Brown after next year, and they ain't going to have the room.
I'll pat you on the back on getting this pick right, and the fact that Joe Burrow was the difference maker in the end here. But that's not the reason they lost this football game. The reason they lost this football game is Mike Vrabel and 100% Ryan Tannehill's fault. Both of those two. I know you were more pro Burrow last week than you were anti-Tannehill. And I went back and I listened to it to make sure of that. Okay?
AJ, didn't you recap my thing saying that he's taking...
Yes, you were right on that. None of us are here, except for AJ, which is an idiot, are big Ryan Tannehill supporters.
Yeah, he made it pretty tough for me to be a Tannehill supporter this last weekend.
Yeah. None of us are Ryan Tannehill supporters here. Burrow, did he throw a touchdown that game?
I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look.
It's not like he balled out.
He just
he made one throw at the end of the game to get them in field goal range. It wasn't even like he had to make a huge game-winning drive. You know? So I'm just pushing back on that you were 100% right on that, because I think that the Titans should have won that game, and they lost it themselves. Right. Bengals didn't go out there and win that one. The Titans lost it.
They didn't. If you don't win it, you don't win the game when you force a turnover and get yourself into field goals.
That's one of the worst decisions I've seen. What the hell was Tannehill thinking?
It was predetermined, like a lot of his throws. He knew where he was going before that ball was snapped.
Yeah, it was pretty rough considering he had no pressure when he threw it. To me, that's the biggest problem with the throw, is that he just did a 3-step drop and let it go into coverage. And it's like, you can see it's not there. If you're reading the coverage off the snap, you see that guy is going to be in a bungalow filled with other men, and you don't have any pressure. Just chill. Be patient. Something else is going to open up if that guy is completely covered by all those people. Pretty poor decision on his part. To me, it's kind of him just kind of collapsing in the moment.
Yeah. Burrow did not have a touchdown pass, but he was 28 of 37 for 348 yards. So I don't think we can sit here and say he made one throw at the end of the game there.
I meant at the end of the game on that game-winning drive. He only had to make one throw, which he did because there was a blown coverage. But
again, 348 yards, that's moving his team up and down the field the whole game.
It is.
Sure didn't end up with points, but
it is. I just think it was more of a Vrabel lost that game.
All right, let's move on to the next one. To me, I'm going to jump to the second least interesting game, and we're going to go Rams-Bucks.
Second least
Tom
interesting.
Brady's. Yeah, because the second most interesting and the first most interesting.
Technically, you're right. It's crazy that you were right.
Yeah. That's weird to think about.
This is like the greatest weekend of football in the history of football. And
it's divisional playoffs. Yeah,
no,
probably is.
I'd argue period.
Yeah, could be.
All 4 games were decided on the final play of the game.
Yep. Yeah, it was a really good weekend of football. Anyway, Rams-Bucks. Let's dive into it. All right, Austin, I'm going to have you lead this one off. Bucks-Rams, go.
It was super interesting, even though it shouldn't have been. I think is the best way to describe this game. The Rams controlled this game for 75-80% of it. The Bucs defense made some nice plays, held them, gave Brady a chance to make some plays there at the end. To me, something that we had talked about the previous week was Sean McVay's potential infatuation with Cam Akers. And it came to fruition. And I really hope he can get over it because Akers isn't quite back yet. He shouldn't be. I don't even get how he's playing after the injury that he sustained this year. But his ball security was a problem before this year in college, and it is a problem right now. And it will cost them if he sticks with him. Sony Michel is fine. He's not great. He's not elite. But he works well in that system. And if you're going to work well in that system and you're going to help them move the ball, that's who they need to stick with. And that really needs to be the end of it. Because without those issues, this game is not anywhere close to entertaining or exciting because it was out of hand early.
Yeah. It was out of hand early, and you're 100% right. That Akers call was a good call by you, by the way, last week. Yeah, he should not be out there. He does not look – he's not giving them what they need, and also that his fumbling issues, man. Like, it almost cost him that game. Matthew Stafford played so freaking well, so well, and he had to save their ass at the end of it because of it. It wasn't his fault at all that they gave up that lead. It was Akers fumbling. What else was there at the end of the game? Cooper Kupp fumbling as well?
Fumbled. It was like 3 or 4 fumbles.
Yep.
And then Stafford almost fumbled when the game was tied.
Calling
a QB draw.
And he fell back on it.
Sean McVay kind of shit his pants there on that final drive.
What in the world? Why is quarterback draw in the playbooks of anyone not named the Buffalo Bills and Baltimore Ravens?
Yeah,
that's
right.
it. Those are the only 2 teams that should be running quarterback draws.
At this point in the playoffs, at least.
Right. Like, there's no reason for Matt Stafford to take a quarterback draw.
No, never.
Ever, much less on the first play of a final drive to potentially win the game.
When you have no timeouts left.
Dude, the playoffs just underline to me over and over again that it doesn't matter who you are. Every single person in this league is prone to making bananas decisions at any point in time.
Yeah, and I think I honestly think it's games like this that make me think Sean McVay's a little bit overrated because of dumb decisions he makes like that and conservative play calling that they have this huge lead and then the whole second half. I mean, I guess turnovers are a part of it, but your whole Cam Akers thing, Austin, there's just things about Sean McVay sometimes that make me scratch my head.
Yeah, for sure. And ultimately, the more I watch and the more that I realize that it's not just a Sean McVay problem, it's not just a Mike McCarthy problem. I think there's a ton of really, really, really smart coaches in this league. And sometimes they think they're the smartest person that's ever existed. And they get so far into their bag of, oh, I got this. I'm going to get him here. I just got him with this. I just got him with this play action. Then I got him with this reverse. I can call literally whatever I want. Instead of just doing what they know is going to work, sure, it might not be a 60-yard touchdown, but if you can just, start that drive, you pick up a 12 to 15-yard completion, your confidence goes through the roof of that drive.
Especially, let's back up.
Yeah,
even
the
more.
defense's buttholes pucker up a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're up by how many points in this game? And you decide
25.
27-3 at one point.
Would they have won that game
24.
if they just took knees the rest of the game? Honestly.
I mean, probably it would have worked better.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're being honest, like that.
Yeah, because the Bucs would have had worse field position, would have had to actually drive the field.
Yeah. Just reckless.
It is. It's reckless, but ultimately, what we saw in the first part of that game is, I think, what we will continue to see, and Hunter's been with me every step of the way this year with the Rams, is that this team is just absurdly talented, and when they're clicking, I don't know many teams, any teams outside of Kansas City that can keep up with them.
The defense is hitting their stride at the absolute right time. That defensive line right now is incredibly scary.
Yeah, and I mean the thing that I think forever it seemed like it was drilled in everyone's head, and I haven't heard it a whole lot this year, is the playoffs are about matchups. It's not necessarily about who has the best team. It's who you're playing on that weekend and what your team does well and what your team doesn't do well, and vice versa. And the Rams, with their pass rush against the current state of Tampa Bay, was a nightmare situation for Tampa. I mean, everything about it was they had one major weapon receiving weapon at wide receiver, and the Rams had Jalen Ramsey.
Yep.
They had struggles with depth and health on the interior line and on with one of their tackles. They have Von Miller and Aaron Donald.
Yep.
It was everything that Tampa didn't want to have to face that Rams team had.
Mm-hmm.
And it should have went the entire game how it went the first 2.5 quarters. But weird things happen in the playoffs.
And we were all on it, too.
Yeah.
So, but, yep.
Except for me, I picked the Bucks to win that game.
Oh,
yeah, because you agreed with everything we said and then said I'm not picking against Tom Brady. Which
correct.
Which is fair enough.
Historically,
and he almost were right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next game. To me, the second most interesting game. And Austin, it's the same thing where I was right with everything I said, but then picked the opposite team. We're going to talk the 49ers Packers. But before we do, Hunter, let's look at the brighter part of the day when you pull in, you're driving down the highway and you see Green Bay, Wisconsin, in 0.5 miles. How'd you feel? Take us through that a little bit.
It's cool, man.
Just your experience of Lambeau. Let's talk about that for like 5 minutes. Go ahead.
It's cool, man. I've been to Lambeau before. This is totally different when you're showing up versus, in the summer taking a tour of the stadium versus when you show up, wintertime and there's already multiple feet of snow out there. The entire town is basically at this point just the locals as well. And it's kind of a different vibe. I mean, we go to a restaurant before the game and there's not a dang person at it because they're all tailgating and they're out there since the crack of dawn. It's pretty cool, man. I got some merch. I got my jacket on as well here. Got some commemorable cups that we're going to be drinking throughout the rest of the season. But, it's just a different vibe. Going to a snow game as well at Lambeau. I mean, I was bundled up. I had 3 layers on in every category of that you can. But pretty sick, and then when it started snowing at halftime, it's awesome, man. It's way better than seeing a game at Arrowhead. I'll say that.
Suck it, Chiefs fans.
It's cool though.
Right.
I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm talking to this guy next to me, and he's like, "Yeah, I've been a season ticket holder for 30 years, And he's like, "Originally, I paid $180 for these seats, and now they're up to $600, And it's like it's just a totally different vibe, than anywhere else I've been for any professional sporting event. So pretty cool.
That's cool. We're glad you got to have a cool experience. I'm sorry that it ended with a loss, but let's get into it. Austin, go ahead and unleash your grin and talk about the game.
So I do want to start something before we do recaps, because we all know this. We all know the score. I told Hunter I would be nice to him today, and I was going to be supportive. So I have a list here of some spin zones that you might be able to take advantage of, Hunter. Trying to maybe morph it in your way. So first, we knew all along the special teams were trash. So that was not a surprising thing. So you were right. So that's a good thing. So we try to focus on the positives here. 2, it's the Bucks' fault, the Milwaukee Bucks, because they tried to trash the Bulls with the whole Grayson Allen thing on Twitter and put a curse over the state that day. So it's not entirely their fault. So that's a good thing. 3, you can't lose in the NFC Championship game if you don't get there. So those jokes that people make every year about how you can't win an NFC Championship game, you won't have to deal with that this year. So that's a good thing.
Lucky.
You got to witness history. The last game that Aaron Rodgers will ever play at Lambeau, you can say you were there for that.
That is actually kind of cool.
That's a good thing that you have in your back pocket.
Very, very bittersweet. I didn't plan these out with Austin, by the way. Austin told me he was going to do this, but I had no part in it.
How do I want to word this next one? You won't have to deal with media really, because when your team isn't any good, going forward, you don't have to worry about teams saying bad things about you. So it's less constant coverage and like headaches and stuff like that. So that's a good thing. So you won't have to worry about people messing with you.
That wouldn't hurt.
The Bears didn't eliminate you. So it's good that the Bears didn't end, and nobody with anything to do with the Bears finally did anything negative to Aaron Rodgers' career there in Lambeau. So that's a good thing. We avoided that catastrophe. And if you would have just had all 11 players on the field to try to block that kick, you probably would have blocked it. So if you'd have just
you came pretty close as it was.
Yeah, so I mean, it was really close, but you can always hold that in your head of like, hey, if we would have tried our hardest, we would have blocked that kick, so it wouldn't even win in, really. Do you like any of those? Do you want to file any of those away for future reference, or
you done?
With that
maybe
part,
we should have saved those for the end.
We have a show to run, Austin. What's your analysis of the game?
Yeah.
My analysis of the game. We can go back and talk about what I previewed the last podcast with, if you want. Oh, shout out to your brother, dude. He took all of my picks instead of yours. And
shout out to Gage Harris.
Nice,
looking at you,
dude.
bud. You
Shout
made
out
some
Gage.
money this weekend. Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, the special teams was going to be a problem. We knew that all along. And by we, I mean I continued to point it out until it actually happened. So, ultimately, the offense wasn't good enough. Every year for the last however many years that Rodgers has been there, it's always, we just got to get him a defense. We just got to get him a defense, man. We just got to get him a defense. And the defense is there, and the offense could only score 10 points. And that's ultimately what this season is going to come down to. I know there's a lot of other variables, but ultimately when you're a quarterback who's the favorite to win the MVP, you have to score more than 10 points, and they did.
Hunter, I know I side with you a lot on a lot of Packers things, especially a lot of Aaron Rodgers things. But I do have that same criticism as well this game, in all seriousness, is that the defense actually showed up for the first time in his postseason career, and he only scored 10 points. And the defense gave up 6. Yeah, the special team sucks and gave up a blocked punt for a touchdown, which is, bad. But, Rodgers, you got to show up. I know the elements are against you because nobody can run a route in that kind of weather. Obviously, they're all slipping around and everything. Hang on, Austin. But Rodgers' ball placement still wasn't even that great on this particular day. And he's, he took over the Brett Favre thing of walking around Green Bay naked all the time in the cold just to get used to it, just to get acclimated for playoff weather. If you remember those Sports Center bits. But I don't know. I didn't see it from him. It's really disappointing for me as just a viewer of football of the NFL, not even as a Packers fan. I was disappointed, but I really don't think he played that well in that game. I wouldn't even say good.
Yeah, no. You guys ready for my opinion?
We are. Yeah, no, I'm letting you take it from here. You have the floor, Hunter. And we, as in I, will do hang on. Let me rephrase that. Austin, just let him talk for a few
Austin,
minutes.
shut the hell up. First off, we talk about you just brought this up, Austin, matchups in this league and how important that they are. Matchup in this game, I think the Packers pretty much dominated that matchup for a lot of the game. Defensively, we shut down everything they did well. Got pressure on Jimmy G. Made him make mistakes all game long. Exactly what we wanted to do. Even shut down George Kittle for the majority of that game. Debo as well. I mean, Debo ended up making basically the game-winning play. But other than that, we pretty much shut him down as well. I was very, very happy with our defense. It was so cool to see that I was right on that, at least, that our defense was legit this year. Very happy.
You were right on that.
Very, very happy with that. I didn't expect the offense to just not show up. This isn't, and I think that as a viewer that was there for the game, what I saw the first drive was exactly what I thought was going to happen the entire game. Packers were going to get Devontae Adams in different matchups, get him in the slot a little bit more, get him easy looks, feed Aaron Jones, move right down the field, no problem. We did it the second drive as well. Same type of thing. And then we fumbled, and then everything changed. Immediately, the Niners started bracketing Adams all game long and just playing uptight coverage on the rest of our receivers, who, by the way, our receivers suck. outside of Adams. They are terrible outside of Adams. And I'm even including my boy Alan Lazard in that. He was not good at all in that game.
That's why you need Hollywood Higgins, baby. I told you. He's better than all the other receivers on that team.
We had 2 guys out that game that were late outs that were huge. I talked about our offensive line being able to handle their pass rush. A lot of that was factoring in that we'd have David Bakhtiari that game. And he got declared out 5 minutes before kickoff, something like that. MVS was out as well. MVS is our field stretcher. He's the one that opens up that offense in a lot of ways. By him going deep occasionally even, it takes the top off the defense and it allows people like Adams to get open, like Jones to get underneath routes. And when the Niners just start to play up on you all game long, somebody's got to make a play, somebody's got to get open. Nobody got open all game. We talk about Rodgers, okay, you got to make a play happen. I agree with that. He's too safe with the football sometimes. I get all that. But if you were there sitting next to me, I think you'd say, I don't know where you're supposed to go with the football in that play. Like, I really don't. A lot of the time, I felt like he was staring at a bunch of bad options. And he still was Aaron Rodgers getting out the pocket. There was a play there to DeGuara where it was like, okay, DeGuara, if you were half an athlete here, you would make it to the sideline to make that catch type of deal. But my biggest gripe in this entire game is that one phase of the football should not drag a team down like that. Yeah, it's special teams, and it's been bad all year long. Austin, I agree with you. But that shouldn't have even been a factor in this game because we should have been blowing them the heck out. We should have been. And I'm just so frustrated because it's like, this was the team, man. Like, I feel like I totally analyzed this team perfectly. Defense is different. Offense is different. All of that. And it just got screwed up because we didn't have an offensive lineman. Plus, on top of that, they were just playing uptight coverage. And then LaFleur was on the sideline like, I don't know. I guess we'll just keep running the same thing. We'll stop going to Jones here on the underneath. We'll just start, running up the middle a little bit here and there. Look for Adams. If he's not there, we'll throw it out of bounds. It's like, what the hell was that, dude? I'm just so pissed off because it's like every single year we get better and we progressively get better. And this was the year where we had enough to win a Super Bowl. And we freaking didn't because we took a fucking shit on Lambeau Field in front of our home fans against a 49ers team that is inferior to us. And I'm just so pissed off. That's my 2 cents.
I agree.
Hunter, that was well said.
Yes. Can I ask some questions?
We're the best team in the NFC this year, and we fucking lost to the 49ers because – sorry, Mom. We lost to the 49ers because of freaking – I'm just –
Go ahead, Austin. Ask him questions.
So I want to ask some questions, and they might seem like I'm trying to be an ass, but I'm not. These are serious questions that I really do have, and you pay attention way more to the team than I do. So you may or may not have an answer to this. One, why are more people not talking about the loss of Robert Tonyan, whatever the heck.
Yeah.
However.
Yes. Honestly.
To me, I felt like that was huge, and it didn't really get talked about enough. Obviously, I know it's been a long-term thing. It wasn't like it was just this week, but I feel like that kind of got left out of the equation a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, Rodgers earlier in the year wanted he wanted DeGuara cut because we thought that we had enough depth at tight end. And now DeGuara starting in a playoff game, and we have Daphne out there trying to get chips on these pass rushers and then go out for passes. Like, what are we doing? This offense is a shell of what it should have been.
So to the offensive line point, I heard this about that. That over the past few weeks, that offensive line that the Packers and Rodgers have been playing really well with, that wasn't even the lineup they went with on Sunday.
Nope.
They changed it around. They had people playing different positions. Like
Billy Turner was playing left tackle.
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I'm saying is like, why in the biggest game so far for you this season are you wanting to mess with your offensive line instead of going what's worked in the past? That is dumb, and that's coaching.
Does that sound familiar? Anybody remember the Super Bowl last year? It's exactly what Kansas City did.
Yeah.
Kansas City had one injury. I know, but Packers have obviously had a lot more than one injury, so I don't want to say that. But
Yeah,
if
but
they
the
had an
line
injury-
they had been rolling out there was
Right.
all available for this game.
Yes. And Kansas City did the same thing last year where they lost their left tackle, and instead of just putting a new left tackle in, they moved right tackle to left tackle, backup left tackle over to right tackle, and the communication and unison in that unit, it wasn't there. And you saw it again this weekend.
And it's really easy as analyzing this game just to go, well, Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he's been one of the best quarterbacks of all time. How do you not score more than 10 points? It's a real easy thing to say. First off, we should have had 20 points. Say that first. Jones had a walk-in touchdown. I don't know what he was thinking. We had a field goal blocked. And then we also had other missed opportunities with punting, all that stuff. But anyways, my biggest criticism of Rodgers in this game is, dude, it's the playoffs. The windows are going to get tight. You knew what you had walking out there on the field with you to that game. You had Devontae Adams, you had Aaron Jones, and you had a load of crap. And you knew that. You were playing against a team that was not going to put up a lot of points. You knew that as well. Weather was going to be bad. You knew that as well. You have to play perfect football if you're Aaron Rodgers in these situations. And ball placement wasn't even one of my biggest gripes with the guy. My biggest thing for him is end of the game there. We ended up running, basically it was two people going deep. It was St. Brown down the left hash, and we had Devontae Adams down the right hash. Lazard did a deep in as well at about the 50-yard line there. And Rodgers predetermined on that play that he was going to throw the ball to Adams, which I totally understand. I totally get that. He's your best player, and I don't trust anybody else on that football team. But you had a Lazard that was wide open on that play, and you had St. Brown, who was also wide open, who also had a touchdown. Make one of those plays there, throw it to one of those guys, you end the game, and you still get out of there with a win. And it is a good win, in my opinion, by Aaron Rodgers because he had nothing, and he still got it done, and he played error-free football. He didn't do that. You have to make that play. You have to. You just have to. It's the playoffs.
I agree with you in the fact that he does have to make that play there.
Yeah, that play for sure. I think this was the game he had an opportunity to not play perfect. That offense was doing nothing. This was the perfect game, and I know you kind of previously stated this, but that was the game to throw picks. He could have thrown 4 picks, and they still wouldn't have scored any points. That offense was doing literally nothing. You have to try something there. You know, I know that a couple people that were not great analysts have said before, you know, trying half making a joke, half being serious. Rodgers doesn't turn the ball over enough because he doesn't take enough chances. That actually was the case in this game. He wasn't. If something wasn't wide open, he wasn't, or at least Rodgers wide open. He wasn't taking any chances.
I disagree on that because I was literally watching on a couple of plays where he did try to force it into like a Randall Cobb on third down, stuff like that, and it just was like blanketed coverage, not there whatsoever.
Wasn't there, and it was short of the sticks.
So, I just watching that game, I don't know where you want him to go with the football. I just don't. The one play I do know where he should have gone with the football was on the biggest play of the game, and he didn't do it. So,
what's the rule 1 of anybody that has a difficult pass rush? Run a screen.
I agree. And then maybe that's his. Maybe he deserves a criticism for that. Maybe it's LaFleur.
It's both.
Maybe it's both. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm okay with saying
But
both.
in terms of what happened on the field, what they ran, that was the one play that I have the biggest.
For sure.
Issue with Aaron Rodgers on. Other than that, man, like it might just be time for him to move on at this point. But I want him back. I think we can push the money back another year here if we want to. But dude, 3 years in a row of this, it's gonna.
Do you want him back without Adams?
I want him back regardless because he's one of the 3 best quarterbacks of all time. So
yeah, but he's not going to be the same without Adams because, like you just said, it's just a bucket of crap out there as receivers.
I agree, but when you have the opportunity,
if you don't have Devontae,
but
you're not running it back if you don't have Devontae.
I agree, but
that's
let's
a completely
be honest, he's
different
not
offense.
coming back if Devontae is not there.
I don't think. I don't think he's coming back either.
So
let's move on.
Also, the Niners didn't win that game whatsoever. Jimmy G played awful. If you're saying that today, screw you.
Let's move on.
All about the Dubs, dude.
To the Chiefs and the Bills. Probably one of the better games I've ever seen. Just The only bad thing is that I had 4 people in my ear that were about 45 seconds to a minute ahead of me in the game. So I kind of knew what was happening. But Austin, as someone who got to see it before people got to hear it.
Hey, was good. I was good. I muted my mic so that I wouldn't.
I know.
TJ,
our freaking bowling sponsor that we sponsor. Gosh dang it, TJ. Not buying him Arby's after his next match. Go ahead.
That was one of the best football games I've ever seen in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not one,
it was the best football game
ever. It was. If you include implications of the game, I would agree, Hunter.
The only other game I'd put up there, and correct me if you disagree with this, is the Steelers Cardinals Super Bowl game. That was another game where I put up there just because of the stakes on it.
Okay, yeah. Stakes wise, I would agree. The physical,
because I think that's the best Super Bowl of all time too. So
yeah, the physical play of that game or of a game, I would go back to the Monday night game a couple years ago, the Rams and the Chiefs that ended whatever it did, like 53-51 or whatever it was. That was just the most pure form of offense, and then occasional defensive spectacular plays that I've ever seen. But if you include what all goes into it, then it's definitely this weekend. It was just the two future faces of the NFL at quarterback going head to head, and it was just amazing.
Yeah, it was. It was. For me, as somebody who does not like the Chiefs and does not like Chiefs fans, it was disappointing, but it was even more disappointing to see Josh Allen on the sideline completely helpless I just went down, scored a touchdown. Oh, wait, they did. Okay, well, I guess I got to figure this out. Oh, I went and did it again and only left them 13 seconds. I only left them 13 seconds and I just took the lead. And then your defense comes out and plays cushion, like 30-yard cushion, when Kansas City has all their timeouts left. In Austin, we don't even need to talk about the onside kick. I know you and I texted about that for a little while. We're not even going to talk special teams in the onside, or not the onside kick, but the squib kick. Yeah, sorry. We're not even going to talk that. We're going to talk why the hell Leslie Frazier thought it was a good idea to throw out cushion and have your safeties 40 yards downfield so that the Chiefs can just pick up yards.
Playing the sideline as well. Playing the sideline.
Thank you, Hunter. That does not get talked about enough. I think that is ultimately the biggest problem in that coverage. If you're at least playing over them, even if you're playing off, you can get to them.
You need, in my opinion, you have to play it straight up.
I agree.
You can have your safeties like you tell everyone as you go out there, hey, we're playing straight up, but your number one priority is just don't get beat deep.
Yes.
If they make a move on you to go deep, you are going deep with them. If they cut it back, let them burn you cutting it back.
You play cover 3 and you rush 3 and everybody else drops. I don't know why you wouldn't do anything other than that.
Yeah, that's infuriating to me, and I'm not even a defensive person.
Yeah,
just Hunter, me nuts.
Yeah, Hunter, you hit it on the head there. The fact that they were playing the sidelines with 13 seconds left when the Chiefs had all 3 timeouts. The sidelines are irrelevant. They are. You can't get off more than 3 plays in 13 seconds. So you don't have to use the sidelines in any way, shape, or form. So the fact that when you play outside, you would allow not only the cushion, but then the angle as well. You add on extra yardage for the pursuit angles, and that's ultimately what did them in. Mm-hmm. If you play that up, if you shorten each one of those plays by 5 yards, that becomes a 59-yard field goal the Butker has to hit. Again, I still don't necessarily even think it should have gotten that close, but if you simply can do that and make it so that they can't gain those extra 10 yards total, the odds that Butker makes a 60-yard field goal in that weather under those circumstances.
After playing as poorly as he had been.
Yes.
Small chances. Not saying he doesn't, because he's a really, really good kicker who had a somewhat off night. But yes.
At that point, you tip your hat and you move on. You didn't beat yourself. You beat yourself the way that game was played.
No, they absolutely did. Yeah, makes me sick.
They did beat themselves, but they also got beat by Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, I don't want to hear that.
Nope.
No?
Yeah, I guess throwing a 12-yard in route to Tyreek Hill and watching him run the entire field.
No.
That's Patrick Mahomes?
Patrick Mahomes that whole game is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think that if you want to factor in the whole game, they didn't get beat by Mahomes. Josh Allen played toe to toe with him.
Josh Allen, I think, outplayed him.
I disagree. I think it was Mahomes just edging out him on this game, personally.
I mean, he was winning with 13 seconds left when the defense fell apart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mahomes also got him down the field.
I'm not even saying he outplayed him by a mile. Like it's micro.
Could have gotten the Chiefs down the field there.
Those two quarterbacks played some of their best games they've ever played in their entire career that game. I'm not taking anything away from Mahomes in that game. He played really, really well. But to say that he won them that game, I don't know. But Josh Allen carried that Bills team. Isaiah McKenzie had the game of his life that no one's ever going to remember because they didn't win. Sucks for that guy too.
Gabriel Davis.
Yeah, see, exactly what I'm saying.
This is the game where we just talked about Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. This is the game, and we also talked about Tom Brady too, so that's funny. This is the game where it just shows to me just how big the gap is between Mahomes and everybody else. I think
Mahomes and Josh Allen and everybody else.
Incorrect.
Josh Allen below him, but yeah. No, Hunter, I don't know how you can. I don't know how you can.
Yeah, how did you watch that game and view it?
He just threw 9 touchdown passes in 2 playoff games.
I gave Josh Allen his props. I said he's finally here, and I think that he's here to stay.
And all I'm saying is it's Patrick Mahomes and then Josh Allen.
This is also this is the first time in his career that we've seen this from Josh Allen, consistency, where he's played like this.
It took him a couple years to develop.
I agree.
And he's developed.
I'm not dogging the guy. I think he's a top 3 quarterback in the league right now.
Top 2.
He
is number 2.
He might be. I just want to see it for one more season.
Sorry, Rodgers.
But I do.
Sliding down now. There's no more going up.
It's just, to me, this is the game where you could tell Mahomes coming out at the gate there knew what he had to do to win that game with his mobility. I mean, he had 70 yards rushing in this game, something like that. He led the team in rushing. He just took it over, and he was that entire offense in every aspect in that game. And when it was winning time at the end of the game, they put the ball in his hands every single play. So, to me, the difference maker in this game is Patrick Mahomes, still. I know the defense was atrocious, but yes.
Everything you just said for Patrick Mahomes, though, is the exact same thing for Josh Allen.
Correct. Yes. He played a great game as well. They were both right there. They both delivered outstanding performances. But at the end of the day, Mahomes edged him out.
I guess agree to disagree. Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, I don't get how your last sentence there contradicted your whole argument that there's a massive gap between Mahomes and Josh Allen. The fact that you said Mahomes had to be the whole offense and Josh Allen also led his team in rushing.
Correct. But this is also the first time in his career where he's shown consistency. Literally the first time.
His entire career.
What?
We're not talking about his entire career path right now.
Then why? Well, you guys are, because you're bringing him up as it's Mahomes and Allen and then everybody else.
It is because it is. That's what they are now.
And it might be, but let's see it a little bit more here, guys. This is the first time Josh Allen has shown consistency. This year alone, middle of the year, he was terrible. What are we talking about?
The guy's gonna have slumps. We went over this. We went over this last week.
I agree.
We said that Josh Allen's a roller coaster, but we know what his highs are.
Yes, and maybe it's here to stay. I hope it is. I think he finally is here.
I still think he's going to have roller coasters. I just think his lows might not be as low, but his highs are going to be astronomical.
Okay.
Also, moderately hilarious that you used this season as an example of roller coaster for Josh Allen and not Patrick Mahomes, when he was absolutely brutal for the first.
Mahomes was still good. He was just getting thrown a lot of things at him defensively, dude.
He had more interceptions than touchdowns through like the first 5 or 6 weeks of the year. What are you talking about?
Did you watch those games? He was still in control of those games.
Dude, you were out of your mind. They were what, 2 and 4?
Okay.
Austin, take a deep breath. He's going through a lot right now as a Packers fan and as a Chiefs fan.
We aren't going to make fun of Deliria when people are emotionally unstable. I understand.
We can't mess with emotionally unstable people. It's not PC anymore.
Josh Allen, the past 3 years of his career, would show up in the playoffs, he would have a great game, and then the next week he would play terrible. This is the first time in his career where he's put 2 games together, and I think he's finally here. Don't put him up there as right. It's him and Mahomes and everybody else, because I don't think that we're there yet to make that claim. Can we at least see a little bit next year of consistency?
AJ, do you want to repeat your sentence of when we were talking about right now the best 2 quarterbacks in the NFL are Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen? Because that was the sentence. We didn't say Josh Allen had the second best career of anybody in NFL history. We said right now those 2 are by far the best 2 quarterbacks in the NFL.
I would, Austin. I just don't think it would be it. I don't think the listeners are listening right now.
If that was the case, why wasn't Josh Allen an MVP conversation?
Because he
right now.
And actually, he was for most of the season.
Yeah.
Was he? Where'd he finish in the voting?
I don't know.
He didn't end well.
Yet.
Was he even a top 5 guy for the MVP? Wasn't there running backs and receivers above him? What are we talking about?
If you're talking about the receiver that broke every NFL record for a single season, then yes, maybe.
Okay, so it sounds like I was right on that.
All right.
That's right. One of them would have won a playoff game at Lambeau this weekend.
Wow, we just spent a lot of time going over last week's games. Let's quickly, because we don't want to go through another 40-minute cycle, do we?
No. Well, I mean, we can. Let's take a break and we'll reset, and then
all right,
we'll
listeners, we're gonna break and reset, and we're gonna come back and give you another solid 10 minutes. All right, let's start with the AFC Championship. We'll just keep on a roll with this Chiefs thing. Chiefs, Bengals. Chiefs hosting. I don't know which day these games are. I didn't look. Austin, do you know off the top of your head?
Sunday.
Both games are Sunday?
Yep.
Okay. I'm assuming this one's probably the early one then.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is. It is.
Yeah. Well, I kind of like the idea of Joe Burrow in a day game
Why?
because most of their games are 1 o'clock games. Because how many primetime games do the Bengals get?
That is true.
I think that is a little bit of an advantage or a little bit of a help, but I don't know much help or advantage there's going to be in this game. Cincinnati is extremely undermanned in this game when it comes to talent. Receiving wise, I think that the Bengals are going to have a hard time defensively against this Chiefs team. And I think this game's just going to be a shootout. It's basically what I'm saying.
Probably, yeah. I mean, Cincinnati doesn't have the chance to hold steady with Kansas City. They make a couple slip-ups, a couple drives that result in field goals or punts or a turnover, and it'll be over.
I mean, they did win in the regular season in week 16 or 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, it matters now.
No, I know it does.
I believe the word you're looking for is not shootout, it's blowout. This will be a blowout. The Chiefs will win easily, in my opinion.
I don't want it to be a blowout, but I also don't think it will because we've seen Joe Burrow overcome pressure.
Oh yeah, 100%, and he definitely could and make this a game. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is close. I would be shocked if they won the game. I'd be shocked.
I don't think they're gonna win. I mean, if I'm given my pick, which I might as well, I'm taking the Chiefs. I have the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in my picks, and I'm gonna stick with that. But I do think that Joe Burrow could make this game interesting.
Yeah, I hope, but I don't think so either. I think Hunter's right. I think this is a 2-touchdown game minimum. I think Kansas City's just going to give them the business. Burrow might be ready for these types of moments, but the team as a whole isn't.
That's true.
And ultimately, Tennessee's defense is solid, but good Lord, is that offensive line bad for Cincinnati. And
it's a revolving door.
And ultimately what it's going to come down to is the Chiefs have players in good spots to help them on defense. They have an okay secondary, but Chris Jones is a man in the playoffs. He's shown it year after year after year. Melvin Ingram is going to be very solid for him, and they're going to get enough pass rush to cause problems. And Cincinnati has no chance to win this game with 19 points again this week.
Shoot, what was it again? Yeah, I guess they could win the game with 19 points. Are you saying this week? Or
No, I'm saying that Cincinnati cannot win the game scoring 19
Oh,
points.
cannot win the game. I misheard you. I was like,
Yes.
can win the game scoring 19
No,
points? Okay,
cannot.
okay. Thank you. AJ, you mentioned that the offensive line for the Bengals is a revolving door. I'd say it's more of the 70's beads that people are putting up on their doors, because if you can just shred right through it immediately, it's non-existent, honestly. You might as well not even have them out there sometimes. Chris Jones gonna have a field day. I think Frank Clark will actually show up in this game. He had a couple of moments actually last game where I thought, hey, he's actually showing up. They need Tyrann Mathieu to come back. I didn't realize how big of a loss that would be. When the injury happened, I texted you guys.
It was a huge loss.
Yes. I texted you guys. I was like, Tyrann Mathieu being out, not a huge loss, right? Turned out I was totally wrong on that. No, they totally destroyed them and carved them up. When
Austin, were we talking during that game?
Yes.
Because I think I said to you, I don't think I might have been watching with you at that time, but when I got on and you and I were talking, I think that was probably one of the first things I said to you was that how big of a loss Tyrann Mathieu is for the Chiefs. And when he got hurt, I think I said that to Carly. I was like, that's actually going to hurt him a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that was massive.
Because he's what keeps that secondary structured. Chris Jones, he's like the captain of the pass rush and, that line stopping the run. But anything that takes place in that secondary is on Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah. Something we don't talk about enough, and I know everybody in the world, rightfully so, likes to give Daniel Sorensen a bunch of crap for how bad he is out there. We have to remember that he keeps playing, which means Andy Reid and Spagnuolo see him play and see the backups play every day in practice and continue to play Sorensen. So if Tyrann Mathieu's out, not only are you going to have Sorensen in an increased role, but you also have the guys that are behind Daniel Sorensen in an increased role. And
that's what happens when all of your cap is in like 4 players.
Yep. So,
but he also wins Super Bowls and get to Super Bowls every year, so it's working for him.
Yeah, you can counterbalance that when you have the ability to score 40 points in every game.
Yep. So, are we all taking the Chiefs?
Yes,
100%.
Anything else we want to add, Hunter, Austin?
No, I really do want the Bengals to make this a game. That's what I want.
I really want the Bengals to win, but I know it's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen.
I do too until I put money down. Then I will be rooting for the Chiefs.
No, I don't want the Bengals to win. I don't want to see the Bengals in the Super Bowl. I want to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and let's go from there.
I just worry that the Chiefs.
I don't want them there, but yeah.
I want a good game, and I think we're going to get, which we'll get to here in a second, is Kansas City and the Rams.
I think so too.
Let's move on then. NFC matchup. Los Angeles Rams hosting. Are they really hosting though, since the 49ers kind of win a lot at SoFi? They're hosting them, but I don't really know who the home team is in this game. San Francisco's won the last 3 games against the Rams.
Yeah, Shanahan's had his number.
Yeah. I think that the 49ers could sneak away with the dub in this game. I know that we talk about how good the Rams' whole roster is and how many superstars and everything they have, but I don't know. There's something about this Kyle Shanahan 49ers team that knows how to beat this Los Angeles Rams and Sean McVay.
These teams know each other inside and out, so we know for sure. I would assume we know for sure. Not going to be a boat racing either way here, but I don't really see a scenario where the 49ers could win this game. I know they've won twice this year. That honestly might help me out here a little bit picking them, because I don't think you can beat a team super easily 3 times in the same year. But in every phase, the Rams are just better. In every phase. I don't know. Obviously, that was the same case with the Packers last week, though. But
no, not all 3.
Except
phases.
Not all 3. Yeah, technically there's 3. Damn. But yeah,
the
Rams
there
are
wasn't
better.
a third.
If there wasn't a third, the Rams are better in every category, though, right, Austin?
Yeah, the 49ers special team is statistically like bottom 5 in the NFL. They just happen to be playing the team that was literally dead last. The Rams have Hecker to flip the field. They've got better special teams. They've got a better defense. Not a much better defense. That is by far the closest phase here. But Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be able to do anything against that defense.
Nope.
Garoppolo has shown his inconsistencies time and time again. And I understand
Garoppolo might not, but Debo can.
I don't think it's going to matter.
They,
I really don't.
If they actually wanted to win this game, they would be seriously looking at some packages with Trey Lance, I think. And I think they should have done that last week, by the way, because Trey Lance would have destroyed our team, our defense, I think. But,
No,
he's
not going to touch.
He won't touch
Lance.
the field. He won't touch the field. But
the problem with that is that they don't trust him to throw it. And if they don't trust him to throw it, you're giving away the team.
They shouldn't trust Jimmy Garoppolo to throw it either, though.
Well, that should start saying something about Trey Lance in his future.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at some point, that's got to be what it is. But no, I'm trying to look up and see what Stafford did in
those games previously against them.
They lost 31-10 the first game. Stafford had 3 turnovers.
This is back when Stafford was playing poorly.
Yeah, this was week 10, and then week 18 they lost by 3. Got to overtime, and then it didn't matter anymore. Well, that's not true. It did not matter, but that was a spot where the Rams or the Niners needed to win in order to make the playoffs, and the Rams didn't. And especially they did any scoreboard watching. They knew they didn't even have to win the division. So that team was playing as good as they can in the Niners, and ultimately Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Odell and everyone else on that team is just going to overmatch them.
Shout out Odell.
He's played pretty well. I said that to Austin too, Hunter, is that OBJ is just, he needs to be on a team where he's getting catches in like multiple catches consistently. In Cleveland, early. Yeah, sure. I just think he needs to have about 5 or 6 catches a game, whether it doesn't matter how many yards it is, but he just needs to be heavily involved, whether it's just bubble screens or something. He just has to get his hands on the ball, has to have targets, because his drops stand out so much more when he gets 3 targets a game, Baker. And 2 of them are drops because one he's getting drilled and the other one he just drops, and then he has one nice catch for 15 yards. Sorry, it's not Talk Browns. He has played pretty well for the Rams. I'll give you that.
If they lose this game, is it his fault for being a team cancer, though?
Yes.
Okay.
If he starts throwing a fit on the sideline, maybe.
Yeah. Apart from literally there being an Antonio Brown style outburst, no.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yes.
Dang, that's almost like that should have been our opinion the whole time of it. Odell Beckham.
We're for sure getting an Odell throw in this game, right? One Odell pass attempt.
Yeah.
Sean McVay in his bag.
Listen, if he's going to have Debo over there playing running back half the game, we're going to 100% see some weird stuff on the other side. He has to show him up somehow. And honestly, it might kill him in a couple instances with how cute he likes to be.
My only fear for the Rams in this game is at some point, any human being has to question their ability to do something. And does Sean McVay really think he can't beat Kyle Shanahan? I'm not saying that's the case, but if he truly believes if that doubt has set in and he tries to do things they wouldn't normally do, if you see too many trick plays, if you see either over conservative or way over aggressive and not playing inside the confines of their offense, it could throw them out of rhythm, maybe get them behind early and kind of screw everything up. But I really think that's the only thing that's going to cause the Rams to lose this game.
The way the Rams win is they score over 30 points. The way the 49ers win.
21.
Huh?
21?
Yeah, they may have to score 13.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say the Rams lose this game if they score less than 20 points.
They still might be able to win with 20 points.
Yeah, I think this 49ers team's pretty inferior to them. I think they're inferior last week as well to the Green Bay Packers. But
you know what, Hunter? There's something to say for teams that find a way to win.
There is. And if they win this game, Kyle Shanahan should be put on a pedestal up there with the best coaches in the league, which he might already be with what he's done so far this year. And the other
I
guy
think he's
that
on
I
the step below the pedestal. I think he's trying to take that step. You're right. This would be that step.
this would be
Go
that
ahead.
step, correct? I don't want to hear any more Matt Stafford stuff, like negative stuff at this point. What does the guy need to do? He's come out here 2 playoff games in a row now, played lights out, almost completely 100% mistake free too. And I think that this week he's going to continue that as well. If he makes the Super Bowl too here, Matt Stafford, I mean, this podcast is just the Matt Stafford podcast at this point.
Yes, we are, Hunter.
Let's go. I'm so
Yeah, now
about
that
this.
Josh Allen's out,
What's
yeah,
up,
we are
Dad?
the Matt Stafford comp.
Dad, if you're listening, how was that take? You know, he just doesn't have it. You know, he was one of the reasons that the Lions were losing, huh? Yeah, no, that was a dumb take, wasn't it?
My dad too.
Man, we're
Yeah,
looking at our daddy issues on today's podcast.
Let's get them both on here. Let's get them in right now.
Just talk about Matt Stafford.
Here, I'll FaceTime him on Facebook, Hunter.
He deleted Facebook.
Yeah.
He's trying to go off social media.
The Stafford stuff drives me nuts. Because he was the best fourth quarter passer this year too for the entire season. Yeah, he turned the ball over sometimes, but what quarterback doesn't? You know, we act like he should be the most perfect version of a quarterback. He had the best quarterback rating in the fourth quarter this year, and I believe, I don't remember this for sure, but I think if you go off of second half stats, I want to say either this, he was top 5. He might have been number 1 in quarterback to interception ratio in the second half. So when it counts and when they needed him to make plays, he was there. Same thing in Detroit. Everyone likes to skew the Detroit stat where he has one of the most come from behind victories. Oh, it's because he has 100 opportunities. You still have to do it, and you still have to be that guy when the spotlight's on you. And he is, and he has been for a long time.
And he did it last week again.
He's that dude.
He is that dude.
There is free money out there this weekend. If you guys want to make some money, parlay Chiefs and Rams, you'll get plus money, actually, plus 105. Join me, brothers, and listeners.
I would say don't listen to Hunter, but those are my picks too, so you can actually take them.
I'm gonna fade you guys then, and I'm gonna go 49ers in this one. Why not?
I mean, screw it. You have a terrible win percentage in the playoffs anyways. Let's keep going.
It's all right, dude. I'm like the Packers. I killed it in the regular season, and then we get to the postseason, and I choked on a big one.
He
So
claps back. Let's go.
It's true. I wrote down our records, and that's kind of perfect, AJ, because you were 5-1 in the first round. So, you know,
yeah, I think I've been below
they're not
500
losing
on the
first
rest.
round. They've been losing the first round. Divisional round 1-3, not great.
Yeah, not great.
I mean,
Still positive. 5
No,
and
no,
4?
it's like-
No, it's not.
1-3?
It's not.
No, I meant like total on the postseason.
Oh yes, that would be 6-4. Yes,
Congrats,
Hunter,
man.
you're 8-2 together, and I am 10-0.
Should be 10-0 because I picked the 2
Which-
games
but
correctly,
they
and
lost,
then they
so
just
that you're
both
not
took
10-0.
giant freaking dumps on the field. But hey, you know,
These were win-loss records, Hunter. So we go off of the scoreboards at the end of the game. So you did.
Austin, isn't it funny though that I talked up the Rams last week beating the Bucks, but I picked the Bucks, and I talked up the 49ers beating the Packers, but picked the Packers. So
Trust yourself. And then you
It's
just
all
say
right.
it again with the
no,
Niners
it's all
stuff.
right. I'm standing by my picks. Pearl wants to make an appearance on the podcast.
she may. Hello, hello, buddy.
Hello, buddy.
You get you a nice cold pop.
She's trying to eat the burger. That's really what she wants.
Yeah.
Were you eating black sheep tonight? It looked like a black
No.
sheep burger.
Carly made it,
Ah,
so you're missing out. Sorry.
dang it.
Are you coming over for the Super Bowl?
Am I invited over for the Super Bowl?
You are.
What are you
Dang
doing
it,
next
invite.
week? Am I invited over next week?
We'll talk about this
Dang
off
it.
the podcast.
Hey, what did you think of the beer?
I actually drank it.
Yeah?
It's warm now, but I drank it.
I'm about halfway through. Pretty good.
Pretty good. Hunter, sorry you might have missed out on basketball tonight.
I
ran pretty
100%
late.
did, but it's okay.
We ran pretty long. I think this was a good one. If you listened, I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't listen, then you don't even know what I'm saying right now.
You want me to forward that notes app of those spin zones for you? Just so you can keep a running tally.
Anyways, let's end the show.
Anyway, let's end the show. Shout out Upslope. Today's show was a climb, but now we're on the downside of it.
Wasn't
gonna
as
be-
good as your first one.
No, it wasn't. I didn't really have anything. I was really just hoping we'd sign off by now. So I'm just gonna let Hunter say goodbye, and we're gonna go.
Deuces.